Hi guys, so a quick review here of Pro Basketball Manager 2016, which is recently released by Cyanide Games. Cyanide Games brings you things such as Pro Cycling Manager, various rugby management games, and Blood Bowl, which most people might have heard of if they've been playing on PC for a while. They tend to do quite niche sports, again Cycling Manager, rugby, but it's a French company and they're popular in France. Their latest version of Pro Basketball Manager 2016. I haven't played the previous versions, 15 and 14, so this was my first time. I've seen a couple of reviews already on YouTube, and to be honest, with no disrespect, they're just not very good. People have literally bought the game and they start clicking around, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know the game, and it's not going to help somebody judge whether the game's any good. So I've played the game for a while now, and this is the screen you're introduced to. Various updates already. The devs are very active, they respond on the forum quite a lot, and as you can see they update the game quite regular. There's also an online ranking which stores your most recent save, your stats, your wins, your defeats, your percentage, your trophies, and you can go on the online rankings here. And I'm in England, so it shows me I'm the #1 ranked user in England, which is very nice. I've not played for too long, so obviously the game's not very popular in England at the moment. And overall I am ranked somewhere 61, so not so bad. The game, it sold a few thousand copies according to the Steam database, which is fine. Pro Cycling Manager seems to be their main game, so this is just, I guess, testing the water, see how popular they can make the Pro Basketball Manager series. Now, let's go to the game. So I'll make a new game for the sake of the video. Career 1. Existing team. This loads all the teams currently in the game, or you can create a new team where you take over an existing team in a league. So say the Phoenix in the NBA, and you could make a new team in the NBA. Let's just leave it on existing. Enable the tutorial, that's fine. Selected database default. The licenses, there's no licenses for the game. The players they kind of have the real names, but they're spelt wrong, and the team names are a bit off. However, if you come onto the games forum, you'll find the real player name and logo database. It's quite easy to install, so let's select the real one. Full database. One thing that would be nice is on this screen is to tell us what the game's loading, so a full database, say X amount of players, and scaled down to show us what we're going to be missing. However, there doesn't seem to be that much of a problem running on full on like a not so great system like mine. So let's create the game. I'll leave all the loading screens in, they're very quick, so there's nothing to worry about there. Again, you can see the devs have probably played Football Manager quite a bit. These little tips in the loading screen and just the general look and feel of the game is very Football Manager style, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing to emulate. It works well. So just let the game load and I'll show you some more. Right, so this is the first screen after the game loads, your manager screen. So first name, last name, date of birth, I was born in 87. Nationality, so I'm English, so I'll pick English. You can change the skin colour, the haircut, the beard, and the colour. So you can pick and choose what your little avatar is going to look like. As it says there, it can't be changed once you've started, so if you care, just make sure you pick something you like, click continue, and it takes us to team. Now, you pick the team before the leagues. It seems a bit odd, but it makes sense in the end. So the grey or white, whichever you see it as, countries, They have teams that can be managed. Club teams can be managed as well as the national team. And countries with yellow, it's only the national team. So the majority of major basketball countries are represented in the game. The only obvious one I can think of that's missing would be the Philippines. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, if there's a bigger one missing. Korea is not represented, Japan, but the Philippines is probably the biggest one other than the Chinese league in Asia, so they could probably do with adding that in a future patch. Europe is covered really well, and obviously America, the United States and Toronto are represented as well. So personally, I don't follow the NBA really. I follow a few of the European players in the NBA. I'm more of a EuroLeague fan. I'm in England. I prefer the European style of game. So for the video, I'll load up a European team. However, I'll still show you everything to do with the NBA as well for our North American fans. So I'm going to go ahead and load let's go with the Spanish league. It's probably the biggest league in Europe. As you can see, it's got all the logos, the information about the team, their national and worldwide rating, the date they was created, your president, your status, the pro team. And in various countries you have the lower levels, so you have the top league in Spain, the ACB, and you also have the second division. If the league operates with promotion, relegation, etc., all that is in the game. The leagues are true to life. There's a few errors, for instance, in the British League. I know it's not going to be one of the most played leagues, but there's promotion, relegation, when in reality there's no promotion or relegation in the British League at the moment. However, the leagues are, I'd say, 99% realistic, which is a nice thing. So, and you might also notice we have Spanish men and Spanish women. The game does come with women's national teams and women's leagues, so the major women's basketball leagues, minus in the women's NBA for some reason, they're all represented in Europe. So, and obviously USA women, Canada women, etc. So it's a nice touch for the developers to add in. However, let's stick with the men's game for now. So let's pick a nice famous team. So we'll go with Real Madrid, one of the biggest teams obviously. So let's select them. So I'm going to be managing Real Madrid. You can also select a national team from the start, or you will be offered jobs by national teams that like what you've done in your career anyway. So let's continue. Now we pick the team in Spain, so then we come to leagues. Spain will be selected automatically for us, so that's good. You can quick select all men's at the top, all women's if you wish, and unselect all. The game runs well even with all the leagues loaded. It will bring up a warning that you'll see in a moment. If you load 5 leagues or more, it might run really slow. However, I think they're underestimating most systems. I think you need a really, really old system for the league to run really slow, running 5 leagues. So if you want the full experience, I'd load every league like this. If not, you can unselect all and just pick and choose the leagues that you might want. So we'll load Spain, we'll load the USA, and we'll load, just for the sake of things, let's load another big league in Europe, the VTB league in Russia. Let's load that as well. So you might have noticed as well in the USA it says it's got the NCAA. That's correct. It's got, I believe, 352 college teams with real college schedules and championships, divisions, and also the player recruiting, etc., that goes on in college, where you're the director of the athletic association and you'll have to fly to players, you'll have to call them on the phone, you'll have to visit the town they live in to try and influence them to come and join your college and take your scholarship, and then eventually become the star for your team and move on to the NBA or elsewhere. So for now I'll just pick them few leagues. I usually pick around 10 leagues, maybe a few more. I was told by one of the developers, if you dismiss the USA, if you're going to play a European game, the USA and the NCAA is around the same size as 15 European competitions running at the same time. So If you dismiss the NBA as playable, you could probably add a few more European leagues if you're finding your computer runs a bit slow. However, if your computer's relatively new, you know, say 4 gig RAM, so on, you'll probably be okay running all the leagues if you wish. So let's go, and as you can see, just before we click, France, it's a French game, so it's got a lot of detail in France, and then it's got all the major leagues and second, like the Italian top league, second league, etc. So let's click OK. Again, more tips. The loading screen doesn't take that long. I'll leave them in just to show you. Obviously you can skip them in the video as well. And again, the same as most manager games, if you have the league selected, then it simulates the full schedule, the full stats, there's more trades, there's more visibility, etc. If the league isn't selected as playable, it still operates. Just on this game, you can still view the teams, you can view everything you wish, you just can't view the schedule or the statistics from the season, but the teams will still trade and still compete, there'll still be promotions, etc. relegations if that operates in the league. One thing I would like to note for our North American fans or just NBA fans in general, this game costs around $14.99, that's English pounds, so roughly $20. However, there is a USA only edition which features just the NBA and the NCAA, which the developers released for around, I think it's around $10, which I think is a really nice idea. I imagine most fans only like the NBA and wouldn't really care for the Lithuanian or the Slovenian league, for example. So if you're into only the NBA, buy the cheaper version and run just the American leagues. Now, this is the manager page. You can see at the top here, we've got manager, Real Madrid, this is your team. If we manage a national team as well, this will appear next to it. So for instance, Real Madrid, Spain, and we have world. There's a search function, the next day function, the options. Let's take a quick look at the options. So languages, there's a few to pick. Windowed mode, to send reports to the developers, a few resolutions to select, your currency, the main ones in the basketball world I imagine. You can change the height and weight units, simplified trades. I'm not sure what this does, I've not found any explanation. I haven't read the manual that well, so there's probably something in there. The game does also come with a 3D match engine, so you can, I will put it on for the sake of the video, and I will put it on high, and you can turn the music off. The game does have music running in the background, however I choose to turn this off. The match engine, it looks okay for what it is. I don't personally think it's needed. It's a simulation, so you can get away with just text, but some people like it, some people request it, so that's fine. So let's click save. Yep. So the first screen is the manager screen and messages. So you'll have a message. So we're in the Spanish Cup. This is our objectives from the president. So your directors have fixed your objectives for the league. They expect us to win. However, you can evolve the objective. Now, the translation can be a bit funny at times. It's a French game and it's been translated into English. It's all makes sense, so just double read something if it seems a bit funny. So evolve the objective, change the objective. They want us to win, they're not going to let us pick anything less, so we can't with Real Madrid. If you was a lesser team, this might say avoid relegation, and you would then be able to pick, for instance, finish in a decent position, finish with a positive balance, qualify for the playoffs. And the board might give you more budget and a bit more leeway if things go wrong. But they want me to win, so I'm one of the best teams, I should win. So let's stick with that. Your schedule is announced. We can click the schedule. You can view it as a calendar, or you can view the list view, which I prefer. It's just easier. So every season you'll have 4 or so pre-season games selected from your league. It would be nice if you could arrange your own, but for now we'll just live with this, and then you have your regular season and your cup. So back to messages. One of the players might retire at the end of the season. As you can see, this is where I think the Football Manager essence comes in. You get random news and just to feel like your game's more alive, which is always nice. Nice little picture there from the real player pack. On the bottom you have your next fixtures, your quick link to the inbox, your logo. This is your director, your board satisfaction and your fan satisfaction. Your league, the current standings. If you're in numerous leagues in Europe, some teams like Real Madrid, for example, will play in the Spanish League, the Spanish Cup and the Euro League, so the Euro League will appear here excuse me, once the draw has been made. Competition information is news from your league as well as any selected leagues that you've picked. So if you click on the league name, you can go to, say, America, National Basketball Association, and any news from the NBA will appear here. So the next tab from manager is plays. The game does come with a customizable playbook. You can create your own plays, upload them to the forum, import them from the forum, share them with other users. It's quite in depth. I've not picked my team yet. Basically, you click on the point guard, it'd bring up a list of options, how many times he passes the ball, how many minutes he keeps the ball for, what he should play next, which player should he aim for, where will he go once he's passed. It's quite in depth. I've not tried it myself. I'm not a very good tactician. I like to just leave it to the coach, but I'm sure some people will find that quite useful. Selection. It's an odd name. I'll show you what this means now. So if I go, I'll skip these for a second. If I go to my team and let's pick, say, Rudy Fernandez. These boxes are the tutorial boxes. They're useful to read on your first playthrough, then I'd disable them. They do get quite annoying once you figure your way around the game. So this is Rudy Fernandez. Stats bars, his details, but for now I'll just show you what this selection tab means under manager. If you go to interact, add to selection, I'll click that. So the other way, this little plus icon next to each player. So let's pick the next player here, Maurice. If we click the plus, it adds the player to selection. The selection is basically your short list, so again it's just a bit of a translation error. So if we go back to manager, we was up to selection. These players will now stay on our selection screen. It's just a way of keeping track of players, their value, which team they play for, etc. You can dismiss them just by clicking the cross. Applications, this is the job market, so we have a job already, but these are all the teams without a manager at the moment when the game's loaded. Satisfactions, this is how happy the board are and how happy the fans are, and this is our objectives for the year, which is to win the Spanish League. First name and name, this would say your name. This is your profile, it's as which team you play at, your contract, your salary, your characteristics which raise over time, and your career will say things like which team, time from and to, cups won, leagues won, etc. and a little bit of a reputation. You can also resign from your team and then use the applications menu to find a new job. So next is our team, Real Madrid. So we have players, obvious, this is our main team. These tabs, characteristics, is just a general tab, the age, the nationality, the position, the height, the team and the value. These are sortable, obviously. So there we go, Rudy Fernandez is worth 1.8 million. Contracts is like your contract chart, only for your professional players. Just handy to see, to keep an eye on your contracts, which contracts are going to be coming up, etc. The only issue with this screen, and it's already been brought up with the devs on the forum, is you have your main players, so Real Madrid, and you have your youth players on the same screen, and it does get a bit crowded. As you can see, Real Madrid have a really big team, so it gets a bit crowded, and there's no way at the moment to filter out these players. You're not gonna, you probably wouldn't play a 14-year-old in the pro leagues just yet. So display, there's no way to get rid of them just yet. They're looking in a way to maybe have two tabs, so you'll have professional and youth, which will be a lot easier, but for now, once you get used to it, it's fine, there's no worries. So coming back, we've got your team. There's a cheap achievement. If you change the logo, you'll get an achievement. It's a random one, but there you go. So team info, tells you everything about the team. Again, very Football Manager style. If you've ever played that game, this is what it looks like. Your players is your main screen. Your last games, we haven't played any. Your schedule, again, you can have view or list view or calendar view. I prefer the list. Your rankings, this is in each league that you're active in. So at the moment we've not played, we're sitting in third because the league hasn't started. And your trophies throughout history. So obviously Real Madrid being a big team, they've won a lot of trophies. Now, go back to players. So you click the player, brings you his stats, his information here, his position, etc. His morale. These are all the points. You do have an average statistic as well, which appears. There's also the profile, shows you his preferred positions, and some more info, his nationality, his languages, etc., which he speaks. Now, last games, again, there's no games been played. Details, statistics, there's no games been played, so there's no statistics. Career, this is probably the worst player to pick, so I'll pick a different player. He's only 14-year-old. So let's go back to Fernandez. Now, there we go, because we've picked a real player this time. His average is 12 out of all his stats. His profile, when he was drafted, is on his profile as well. His condition, his mood and his fitness, and you can see his contract as well. One nice feature, especially for European players, is you can include a car and accommodation into players' contracts. This is something that happens in Europe to lure players into the leagues. You know, you get to live basically rent-free with a free car, and usually all expenses paid, so that's always a nice thing to have. His career is his history, so as you can see, he's Real Madrid, Spain in the World Cup, Real Madrid, etc., etc., the Denver Nuggets in the NBA. One random touch, but it's quite a nice feature, is the map. You can see a map of all the leagues the players played in. It's a strange one, but it's a nice little cosmetic feature they've added on there, I guess. Records, any records that the player sets. Awards, he's not won any yet during the game. Compare, you can compare with other players. And interact is where you can add him to your shortlist, scout the player, offer him a contract, fire him, or change the player's status. So, star player, which in turn should change his morale, etc. There we go, the change of the status and a positive effect on the player's morale. So, back to players. So that covers the players. Again, the display you can change, so you can change what stats are shown on this. So if we have dribble, it will show the dribbling stats, etc. So let's just get rid of that for now. Now, tactics. The amount of players able to select, the 6-man, the defensive players, the go-to guys, and the minutes allocated. So again, it could probably do with a bit of a makeover, this screen, but once you get used to it, it's quite straightforward. Your main players from point guard down to centre are listed from the top downwards. Then you have your substitutes and your scratch players who aren't taking part. You select your go-to guy and your defense from the little drop-down list, and you can also adjust the minutes for each player as well, and it'll tell you how many minutes allocated you need. Or you can just click Ask Assistant, and the assistant will change everything for you depending how he feels. Training. So there's two types of training. There's individual and team. The coach will train the players for you, however it's noted again by the devs that it's not shown to the player ourselves what the actual coach is doing. So if you just leave this, the coach will train the players, but you won't know what he's doing. So another thing that they're considering to add into the game because of user feedback. You can change the hours of training per day, the hours of training the day before the game, and the hours of training the day after the game. So if we go to 5 hours per day, then on this slider on the left, team training versus individual. So this slider currently 4 hours of team and 1 hour of individual. You can change that as you wish. You can select the players to be trained or to rest. If you select each player, you can give them an individual training schedule, so the intensity, what you should prioritize, so a profile for a playmaker for instance, or specific 2-point shooting, blocking, etc. Or you can try and change him into a different position. The evolution, again, is quite self-explanatory. It shows his current fitness levels, his freshness levels on that screen there. And the team training, again, this is like grouping all the players into one, set their intensity and set their priority, and these pie charts here give you some information, who's fit to play, who's injured, etc., and the morale of each player. The schedule we've been over already. The finances, so you have your budget at the beginning of the season and the beginning of the month. Your current budget, we've not played any days, so that won't change. Your payroll, so this is how much you're paying your players. And the unused payroll, this is how much you can use for extensions and signing new players. You can change the budget monthly to annually. And obviously once we start clicking through, you'll see at the end of month 1 the players' salaries, the staff salaries will be paid, any arena expenses, any income we get, and any income from friendly matches or matches through ticket sales. Now, the arena, you can rename the arena if you wish on the general tab, so go to stands. This is a very basic mock-up of the arena, but it's just to show you can expand the arena, you can add new seats, you can change the quality of the seats, so Real Madrid being one of the top teams have got the best level seats already. You can change the number of seats in each, so for instance this section has 250, we could change that to 500. It tells you the cost, how long it'll take, etc. You can also set the ticket prices in each section, so this premium section here, centre court, front row is currently £23, so we can change that as we wish. And shops and events, so you have bars and shops. The bars obviously sell the soda, the beer, the chips, sandwiches during each game. They have a certain maintenance cost associated with them. The shops sell your merchandise, shirts, jerseys, caps, scarves and balls. Again, they have a maintenance cost per game. This is the purchase price for each item, and this is the selling price. So for instance, a shirt cost us £6.6 and we're selling them for 30, which is currently the max, or we can lower this. So each game you'll get an individual breakdown of what's been sold, what's making money, what's not making money, so you can tweak this. And again, during the game we can have cheerleaders, a speaker and a mascot. These have different levels from amateur to exceptional, and the cost involved changes with each. As you can see, exceptional cheerleaders are quite expensive per game, so you need to make sure that you're pulling in the right amount of fans before you upgrade any of these options. Always remember to click save if you do change anything. Staff. The staff in the game is quite a basic method, but it works for what the game is. The game is it's a solid simulation game, however some sides are lacking a little bit, and this is one of them. The wages of your staff are not part of the player's payroll. They will be directly deducted from your budget at the end of the year. So the staff are paid yearly, not monthly. So for instance, we could fire the staff with dismiss, or we can prolong the contracts for another year if we wish. Usually you'll have one of these missing, the physio for example, but at the moment they've got quite a good setup. We can get another scout if we wish. Click hire. And it's, again, this is another screen that could do with some work. It could be sortable a bit easier, but for now, if you're probably going to go by either salary depending on how much budget you've got, or reputation if you don't have to worry about budget. 5-star, let's try, and at the moment our current staff are on between 20 and 45,000, so I like to keep it even. Let's hire a Spanish, so Daniel Here's 68,000. Let's hire. Just click the staff member and click hire, and you'll add to your team. There you go. Scouting. Scouting is not so bad. There's the world. You've got 2 scouts. So you pick the scout's name here. So let's pick Daniel, our newest scout. And then you can select on the map. So we're in Spain. Let's get Daniel to scout in France. Tells you how many teams and the average level of the teams in the country. You can scout for up to 6 months. The minimum age, the maximum age, the gender, because you can play in the female leagues, remember? We're in the male league. You can select which position you want the scout to find, which players to exclude, players who are not going to sign regardless, and free agents, and it will give you a cost. You have to pay for the scouting trip, of course. So let's send Daniel to France for 6 months. There we go. He's in France. Once your scout gets a report, you'll find that in the messages screen, and then it will take you to the scouting screen. Then you just click reports, click your scout name or click the country, and it will bring up the players with the report that is found for them. Hiring, again, it's worded a little strange. This is basically if you've offered any players a contract, transfer or a loan, this will appear here to let you know what's going on. And then finally we have world. So prospects. This page lets you see talked about young players in the country that you're managing in, and you can obviously you can scout any country you want. So Bosnia, for instance, there's the Bosnian prospects. They're quite young. You have to send your scout to scout these players to find out. As you can see, their stats are hidden because we don't know anything about these 17-year-old players in Bosnia just yet. You send your scouts, try and find some future stars, bring them to your team, etc. Competitions. This is quite an in-depth section. You can literally view any league in the game. So this is our league, the ACB in Spain. Round 1, our first match is there. The current standings, which teams will be relegated at the end of the season. And then you also have teams. It will list the teams, the current coach, the city they're located in, the current level, and also again it's got a little map to show you roughly where they're located in the country. There's no statistics because we've not played any games. Competition info. This will teach you the format of the competition and the playoffs and what happens if you finish in the right position. So we go to the Euro League. The rules, again, everything you need to know about your league. The foreign quotas, the import levels in Europe are important. You need to adhere by them. So 7 foreign players and 2 US players in Spain, for example. The awards, again, player of the month, etc. will appear there, and the history as far back as they've managed to go. Real Madrid, obviously one of the best teams, again, have won lots of times. So let's go to, and also as the international competitions available, let's go to the NBA for our North American friends. So here we are, here's the NBA. The game, if the game wasn't loaded as playable, the schedules and standings wouldn't be here. It would just explain that the game isn't playable, therefore the schedule isn't viewable. The conferences, the teams, the logo, so the Boston Celtics here, they're in the NBA, the rival teams, their colours, everything you need to know, the arena. There's their roster, so let's click one of the players for you. Let's go with RJ Hunter. There's unfortunately he hasn't got a picture in the picture pack just yet. Everything you need to know is yours in the NBA, his profile, where he was drafted, his contract, whether he's junior, etc. Again, I'm not too clued up on the NBA ins and outs. I don't follow the NBA 100%, so excuse me for not knowing so much about the league as I do as a European one. The drafts, you can look back at previous drafts, where the players are, where they came from, which college they came from. A mock draft is also available. This kind of shows you from the date it's available who's the highest current pick Again, the devs want to add something a bit better to deal with the draft. They've explained on the forums already, because it's not being very obvious for players playing in the NBA to scout the draft, the awards, and the history. And also for the NCAA, at the moment the league has its logo, but the teams currently don't. There's like 300 and something teams, so it'd take quite a while for somebody to go through and add all the logos. And as you can see, you can search for the team. It's got all the conferences that you should recognize. Again, I'm not too sure whether these names should be real now, but obviously the logos and stuff aren't available just yet for the NCAA. I'm trying to not make the video go on too long. I just wanted to give out a bit more of an in-depth and better review from a few of the people who are reviewing the game but don't actually know what the game is. The format there is explained. If you're familiar with the NCAA, that'll all make sense to you anyway. So where was we? We was on cups. Again, in Europe we like cups. It's just one of them things. There's the Spanish Cup, and currently there's only the Spanish Cup running because of the leagues I've selected. They don't have a cup running. And you can search. This is where you'll find your free agents, as you can see there, free agent. Literally you can find any player on the game here. You can sort them by value. For instance, there's LeBron James. Let's check him out. He's got his picture. There's his stats. There's his contract, his profile, etc. Now you can display and change what you want to see. So 3 points, steals, etc. You can drive, stat. There you go. Now the only issue with, again, this screen could probably do with some work, and the devs realize this, is trying to find free agents isn't the easiest thing. You need to go to filter, and then you need to go to contract. Sorry, let me find that again. Contract is expired or none. Now these players don't have a contract. And then expired is players whose contracts have run out and they become a free agent. So as you can see, it's a little bit awkward. It needs a bit of work, and it also needs a selection where maybe filter out unrealistic players, because not every player will want to sign, and it could take you some time clicking through the player who, you know, he might have no interest in signing, but you don't know that initially. Let me just show you how to, when you go to sign a player. So for instance, we'll go with this Frenchman here. It's a real player, as you can see. He's got his picture. We need to scout him. He's obviously not very well known. We don't have his stats, so we'd need to scout him really to get a better judge on the player. But if you go to interact, contract offer, or scout player, we're going to contract offer the player. Now, as the game explains, a low interest does not mean the player will not sign. He will consider aspects such as salary, contract, status, and playtime. And also, if he's interested in the team, then it might make him sign, you know, that offer a bit more better for him to sign. So we've got two things on the contract offer: is attractiveness of the actual contract and the team. So Real Madrid being a big team, most players will probably want to sign. So the salary, we have 376,000. So at the moment, he's roughly valued at this much per month by the game. So, and you can see is at 77%. If I change this 2,000 per month to say 5,000 per month, sorry, you can see it's gone to 88%. If I offered him £50 per month, it's at 5%. So nice little touch, kind of for you to gauge where you're going right and wrong. You can set the years. His status, this again will change. So a bench player or a star player, you know, everyone wants to be the star, so he likes that. Responsibilities, if we say you're going to be the offensive leader, it's just an example. It's not a real offer. He likes that as well. Playing time promises. We're going to promise you 25 minutes a game. He wants his minutes. He's still quite young. You can offer him a bonus per game if we win, and a release clause for foreign teams. The release clause, if he had, say, a 500,000 release clause, a team would have to offer at least that amount to me before they can offer him a contract. Annual increase, and then again we can offer him a car, which will cost us £7,000 a year, and we can also offer to accommodate him rent-free in his own apartment, which is £757 per month. Again, these will make him want to sign even more, and we can offer him to be released for free if we get relegated, and that doesn't affect too much. Then you just click OK, and then you come to this screen, which, if you remember, is on your hiring screen from your team hiring. We're currently sent an offer, and we're waiting to see what he says. It usually takes a few days for him to get back in touch with us. Now, I've gone through all the tabs. That's pretty much that's all the options. We've just gone through all the options. So now, let's just show you a quick few seconds of the gameplay. So, here's the team. Let's just let the assistant select the team for now, and then we can sim per day, which, as you can see, simulation of day is quite quick. Or we can go on the underneath next day. You'll see the date and the drop-down list. You can sim to any date you wish. So let's go to the day of the first friendly. Now, when you're simming multiple days, you have the options of simulate all games that are played during them periods you've picked, and always that should say halt simulations when an important message is received. It's probably useful to keep that one on. So, and again, you can skip the simulation if you wish. It shouldn't take too long. There we go. We've just received a message, and our player has just accepted our contract. So now he will be on the player's screen. Where is he? Is the Frenchman? There he is. And then if you go to tactics, I'll just ask my assistant for now, and obviously he doesn't make the team because he's probably not up to out. No, he's not Real Madrid standard, unfortunately, but I was just showing you how to sign the player. Now let's skip again to the day of the game. I'm going to turn this off just for now so we get to the game and I can show you what happens during the game. Again, I apologise, the video it's gone on a bit longer than I wanted to, but I just wanted to make sure I covered everything in one go. And by all means, skip the loading screens and jump to certain parts if you wish. It's quite obvious what part we're covering if you just skip and have a quick look at the video where we're up to. Now, the game has currently got mixed reviews on Steam. I think that's a bit unfair, and I think maybe a few players from the previous versions have been a bit too quick to comment and say that the game's rubbish and it's unfinished. The game, it's not unfinished. It's being updated regular, and the devs are very active on the main forum. It's a solid game. It's clearly a budget game, if you will. It's cheap. It's got a good price tag, but there's lots of detail. There's lots of stats. There's lots for you to do. It's a little living, breathing world, just like Football Manager. It's not quite the same quality as Football Manager, but then again, Football Manager sells roughly 1 million copies every year. This game, at the moment, has sold just a few thousand. So it's just a building block. Out of 10, I would give it a good, say, 6.5, maybe a 7 once I've learnt the game a little bit more. But if you're into basketball, it's probably your best option and probably your cheapest option as well, considering everything else that's out there. So again, we've got the game today. Here's some news. You get a news about your salary payments, your balance, and a few players have joined their national teams, so they're unavailable to me until they come back. So that would mean you would have to go to your tactics and change. As you can see, these highlighted players here, this little icon will tell you what's wrong the player is playing with his national team. So you can change this yourself, or you can just let the assistant do it if you want to just be the general manager type of game. Now it's game time, so if we click next day, that's telling us we still have a message to read. So let's see what that message is. Oh, just players going to the national team. And we've also got a scout report, so I'll show you this really quickly. Consult the report, and these are the players my scout has found in France so far. Their potential, their injury frequency, their level, and their salary. So useful information, and they should have some more stats. Yep, we've got the stats available now for us. So that's the scout report. Now let's get to the game. The game's today, so the game's today. Do you want to play the game? If you click no, it will just do an instant result, and you can see the box score. You can go back and review everything you want. It's more of a, if you're playing as a general manager type game, which I do myself. I don't like to play out the games. The big games I'll play out just to pretend I'm there in the stands with the players, watching how they do. But in general, I just click no and I just do the day-to-day stuff and let the coach the game. So I'll do the game to show you the match engine, so let's click yes. Now again, here's my team. I've let the coach pick, so that's fine. Click continue. Statistics. There you go. The top players to watch, individual statistics from some of the top players there. We've not really played any games. This is the first game, so maybe Mercier have played a game before us. That's why there's some statistics there. Again, last games, we've not played any, and there's the other team's previous last game and the statistics. A presentation, starting lineups and the coaches. This is the arena, and this is how many fans they're expecting to show up. Sorry, the attendance. There is sound, so I apologise if that's a bit loud. I'll turn that down in a second. Now bear in mind, this will be a little bit slow because I put the 3D engine on and I put it on full. Now personally, if I was going to play the game, I'd play with the 2D, which I'll show you now. This screen is really nicely set out. You've got your teams at the top, the quarters, the points, the minutes, the speed of the game on the top right, the camera controls on the top left, so 2D, 3D, and the volume. The starting lineups, the foul counts, the point counts. Is the roster. We can change the subs, change the positions. You've got the statistics. You can change your tactics on the fly. You've got your fitness levels. Comments is like a running commentary, a text commentary, and next play you can actually control the play of the players. So do you want them to shoot, etc. So, and also the timeout button, as you can see there as well. So let's click play. Let's click play with the 2D at the moment. This is the 2D. Again, very Football Manager. You've got the dots. It does the job if you don't want to play the 3D engine, or you might not be able to run the 3D engine. We can speed up the time. You also get a commentary there. And the stats, as you can see, everything updates as it should. We can also skip to the end of the quarter. So we're in the second quarter now. There's the score. Let's click play. I'll show you the 3D instead. So this is the 3D engine. Sorry, the game was still finishing the very end of the quarter there. So we can give a few instructions at the end of the quarter, again, like in Football Manager, to boost morale. So it's 16-13. We probably should beat this team. So let's just tell them, encourage the players with no particular message. Just, I expect them to win. So Let's just click that, and it will tell you what effect the timeout had a mixed effect on the players' morale. So again, you have to be careful and judge who you are, who you're playing, how the game's going, etc., to judge what to say to them. Now again, let's go back to the game. So here's the 3D engine. Obviously it's not like a revolutionary engine, it's a very basic engine, but it looks quite nice for such a cheap game. You know, the game's very cheap to buy, but you can tell they've put quite a bit of time and effort into trying to make it look quite nice and quite pretty. So let's just play that a bit quicker. And there's the 3D engine for you. You can also have it as a smaller screen as well. So I'll just skip to the end of the game. Do you want to simulate the game? Yes. Again, if you go in the options and turn the 3D engine off, when the game first loaded, it won't take that long to load. It is literally a second and the game will load, because it's not loading any of the 3D engine. And there's the end of the game. We did win as expected. You can view your statistics and everything you wish about the game, how your players did, what points they got. And let's click OK to... Sorry, end game at the top there. I pressed the wrong one. And then you'll get a recap of every game. Again, if you simulate the games with the instant result, this is the recap you get. It's quite detailed, tells you everything you need to know. If you click one of the scores, it'll bring you back to the box score screen, which is probably the best way to view. And then again, I mentioned about the finances with your drinks and your shirt sales. Your attendance, your total attendance, 39% of the arena. Your income, if you click the details. So this is every game. It will give you the valuations. However, you can do it individually, which I think is quite nice. You can judge probably ticket prices for each individual team if you wanted to go really serious. So for that last game, we made £57,000 profit. We made profit on the balls, the beers, the caps, the fries, sandwiches, scarves, shirts, sodas, and tickets. Obviously, we sold nearly 6,000 tickets. The speaker, the mascot, and the cheerleaders cost us, they're the expenses, and the maintenance, the general upkeep of the arena. So far, this is our figures, and I think that's where I'll end it. I apologise, it's been quite long. If it's too long, then please comment and I'll keep them shorter next time. I just wanted to give you a real good look at the game if you're interested in the game. I would say if you're interested in the game, buy it, because it's worth what they're charging. And remember, if you're only going to play the NBA or NCAA, then please buy the US version only. It's like half the price. It's a really good deal from the guys. I'd give it, say, 6.57 out of 10. Yes, it needs some work, but the devs are active on the forum. They seem to be listening to people, and hopefully the updates have been very frequent, and that will continue, and they'll make the game even better for us, because there's not many basketball games out there. Leave any comments if you want to discuss anything.